Hat, sunglasses, Pepsi, notes, sources, thick skin, check. You already know. Let's go. Golden Bluted is a college football YouTube channel for entertainment. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and let's get into our next college football video. Yeah, before you even ask, yes, it's true. More bad news for West Virginia. Another player has entered their name into the transfer portal, and it's Jordan Jefferson, our second best defensive lineman, right behind Dante Steele. So this is more bad news for West Virginia. A lot of players have entered the transfer portal. I mean, you look at the offensive side of the ball, and we basically lost all of our receiving production. I mean, Bryce Ford Wheaton and Sam James, they declared early for the NFL draft. Reese Smith and Caden Prather, they entered their names in the transfer portal. And the biggest red flag out of those names was Caden Prather, because he was recruited by Neil Brown. He was a Neil Brown guy. He stood by Neil Brown, and he has actually entered his name into the transfer portal. That's big-time red flags, and West Virginia leads the Big 12 as far as number of players that have entered the transfer portal. Last count, 15 players. 15 players since the end of this season have entered their names into the transfer portal. Something is very, very wrong at West Virginia. And I don't blame Graham Harrell for taking the same position over there at Purdue. And a lot of people blasted Graham Harrell for doing that. Why? Graham Harrell did actually help West Virginia. Those first 4 games, West Virginia was a top 25 offense. What started happening in that Texas game? You started to see hints, clues of Neil Brown's influence in the offense again, and we ended up being the 60th best offense in scoring. That's not good at all. Well, I wasn't impressed with Graham Harrell. He didn't do that much at West Virginia. Oh, yes, he did. Do you not remember the 3 years before Graham Harrell came to West Virginia, what our offense looked like? 116th in scoring in 2019, 88th in scoring in 2020, and 83rd in scoring last year. We were horrible. Of course he did great for West Virginia, but Neil Brown could not keep his hands out of the offense, and that's why he's going over to Purdue. Graham Harrell had 2 years left on his contract. He's like, I don't care. I'm going over to Purdue, and Purdue's going to pay that contract off. So yes, there's a lot of bad things going on at West Virginia, and the thing that absolutely blows my mind is fans getting onto the players for entering their name in the transfer portal. Can you blame them? Why are you getting onto the players? A lot of former players are coming out and speaking up saying, hey, yes, there is definitely something wrong. In fact, the voice of Motown did an interview with a former player that wished to remain anonymous because he didn't want to get the backlash of the fans. He said Neil Brown has been making promises to these players that he's not following through with. He is not playing the best players. He is playing the players that he likes the most. There is some favoritism going on at West Virginia. The best players are not seeing the field. It's the players that Neil Brown likes the most that gets the most playing time. And that's why we're seeing so many players enter the transfer portal, and why West Virginia is in such a bad situation. Neil Brown, 5-7 in 2019. Then yes, a pretty decent 6-4 in 2020. But it wasn't that great. We had an elite defense. But remember, 88th in scoring on offense, so a terrible offense. 6-7 in 2021, so a step back. And then this year, 5-7, another significant step back. We are in the same position that we were when Neil Brown got to West Virginia. And he had a ton of excuses when he got to West Virginia because the cupboard was bare, because Dana Holgorsen relied too much on the transfer portal, and all those transfers were leaving. So yes, the cupboard was bare. He had a ton of excuses when he got to West Virginia. But this is year 5. And you're telling me in the 4th year, because the 4th year just ended, 5-7, the same record as year 1, is good enough? Why is the only thing consistent in West Virginia right now as far as football goes is Neil Brown? Everybody else is leaving. What does that tell you? The problem is still here. Neil Brown is still here. And this is not me trash talking Neil Brown. I've done a lot of videos expressing my opinion on how bad I think he is as a head coach, and how he has not fit West Virginia, and how I think he will have success once he moves on from West Virginia. We're just not the right fit. This particular video, I wanted to focus on the fans, and the fans that are calling these players soft and bitter and not a true Mountaineer because they've entered the transfer portal or they're leaving West Virginia in some form or fashion. No, that's not the case at all. These kids are making the best decision for their life. Things are bad right now for West Virginia. And listen, this is happening at the worst time possible, because mark my words, conference realignment is not done. Remember, about a decade ago, the SEC was interested in West Virginia. It came down to Texas A&M and either Missouri or West Virginia, and of course they chose Missouri. And then this past year, 2021, it was confirmed the ACC was interested in West Virginia. They talked to West Virginia. In fact, West Virginia extended their runway 1,000 feet to accommodate some of the rules for the ACC. That was in progress, and the ACC has since backed away. West Virginia has picked the worst time in the history of the program to tank, because we are not going to be attracted to any of these other conferences that otherwise might have been interested in West Virginia. And maybe the Big 12 will be fine, and we'll have success in the Big 12, and we'll be able to compete at a high level in the Big 12. So being in the Big 12 is not going to be a bad thing, but you just never know. It's good to have options, and West Virginia not going to have options because of what's going on right now in Morgantown. Us as fans, we just need to realize what's going on and stop bad-mouthing and trash-talking the players that do decide to enter the transfer portal. We're going to Blue. Isn't this negative publicity that you're giving West Virginia going to deter recruits? No, absolutely not. They don't pay attention to me. I'm just a YouTuber. They pay attention to the coaches. They pay attention to what's actually happening at West Virginia. I'm just telling you what's happening. It's going to happen whether I tell you or not. It's happening whether I tell you or not. So my words have no bearing as far as the recruiting process at West Virginia. Things have got to get fixed at West Virginia. Now, one bright spot as far as Graham Harrell leaving is I heard that West Virginia is interested in trying to get Travis Trickett as the new offensive coordinator at West Virginia. And I actually think that would be a great hire. Travis Trickett is a West Virginia man, so he would want West Virginia to be successful. He would have a vested interest in West Virginia, and he likes to spread RPO, which y'all all know. I've given the history lesson that every time that West Virginia's had great success, they've ran the spread RPO offense. So I would actually love that hire at offensive coordinator. But what about the defense? We haven't heard any type of firings or anybody leaving West Virginia on the defensive side of the ball. And that's the side of the ball that was really, really bad this year. I actually thought Graham Harrell was fixing the offense until Neil Brown started meddling into the offense. And now he's gone. Now we have to replace him. But nothing happening on the defensive side of the ball. This makes absolutely no sense. Our defense was like 118th in points allowed. That is incredible. Ever since Vic Koenig was fired at West Virginia and Jordan Leslie was promoted to defensive coordinator, which was a horrible, horrible decision, makes no sense whatsoever. I'll never understand that. West Virginia has been taking a step back on defense year after year. Last year, we went from an elite defense in 2020, like in the 50s in points allowed. Then this year, we went from the 50s last year down to 118th in points allowed. So yes, the defense is 100% broken and nothing's being done. Nobody's being fired. Nobody's leaving. Everything's staying the same on defense. But on offense, that was getting fixed. That's where all the problems is as far as people leaving goes. This makes absolutely no sense. It's like the opposite of what needs to happen is happening. And West Virginia's just getting worse and worse and worse. And the ditch is getting deeper and deeper and deeper. I mean, is the problem Gordon Gee? We fired Shane Lyons. I thought he was part of the problem, and he was, because he wasn't bringing in enough money for the West Virginia football program. And I love the hire with Brim Baker because he's a great promoter as far as getting money for the football program. That situation is fine. But does it go above him? Does it go to Gordon Gee? Is Gordon Gee making some bad decisions? Because there was a few people on Twitter, former players, TJ Simmons and Jeffrey Puller, that were suggesting that, yeah, this is actually on Gordon Gee. Gordon Gee is not making the right decision, and that he's attached to Neil Brown just a little too much as well. And I'm not trying to throw Gordon Gee under the bus, but he needs to figure out what he needs to do, because what's going on right now is not working. You don't keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expect different results. We all know that that is the definition of insanity. Is West Virginia going insane? I mean, that's the question. Is West Virginia going insane because we're doing the same thing over and over and over and over, and we're expecting different results? No wonder why we get made fun of. No wonder why the jokes keep coming. No wonder why people keep looking down on us. And I'm sick of it. Y'all need to help us out. I tried to give West Virginia a voice on YouTube because I noticed we didn't have a presence, and we're starting to build that presence. Not just me, but several other channels as well. But the moment we start giving West Virginia a presence on YouTube, this happens. West Virginia starts tanking, and the jokes actually get easier. Oh, West Virginia's always been mediocre. No. Before Neil Brown got to West Virginia, not only were we top 15 in total wins all time historically, but we were top 25 in winning percentage. Now we've dipped down into the higher 30s. We're like 30th or 31st, which still isn't bad. We're still only one of 3 programs that's top 25 historically as far as total wins in both basketball and football. It's West Virginia, Texas, and Notre Dame. But football, my gosh, we have got to figure this out. Because even though Neil Brown has been able to somehow, some way get these recruits in, they're not staying. And if this continues, even their recruiting is going to go downhill as well, because the recruits are going to start not buying what he's trying to sell. So as fans, we need to keep this into perspective, not get onto the players that are leaving. They're making the best choices for their life. They're trying to get out of a toxic situation. So we need to leave the players alone. The coaches and the administration that we need to be questioning right now, because bad decisions are being made all over the place. So y'all let me know in the comments section, if you're a West Virginia fan, how concerned are you that we lead the Big 12 as far as players entering the transfer portal? And if you're not a West Virginia fan, from the outside looking in, how bad does this look for West Virginia? Is there any hope for West Virginia? That's all I got for that show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.